Hey everybody, it's ProbablyRed. Alright, so today I'm just going to go over some of the basics. This is kind of if first time players, early players kind of understand how to basically use the interface here. So when you go through the beginning of the game, let me actually go to that. It'll probably, I think it starts out in, yeah, it's campaign. You go through the tutorial campaign, and I think it starts you out in fire. Let me check real quick. I'm looking here, because I think it's
Taking bounties is a rough bit of work, but the money's good as long as you're alive
I
to
don't
spend
think it
it.
starts you out. Oh, I guess it does start you in Shadow. Yeah.
Taking bounties is a
So,
rough bit of work, but the money's good
Jack
as
kind
long
of
as
leads you
you're
through the
alive to
story,
spend it.
and you start out. I
The
did not
Shadowland,
recall
it's an
that it
easy
actually
with a
starts you out in Shadow.
taking
I think that might
bounties
be
is
a
a rough
change,
bit of work,
but
but the money's good
it'll
as
start you
long
out.
as
You'll
you're
go through
alive.
these. I highly
Talir
recommend you
starts its
finish all of
quest as
them,
the rebellion drew close.
because it gives you pretty decent rewards. Gives you a good starting setup, like card wise. And then once you finish that, so they're pretty simple. You just follow the instructions. When you get to the last couple ones, they're the, I guess the third or fourth one in one faction. You know, Shadow, Fire, Time. Those are the factions. Um, Towards the last one, some of them are kind of puzzly or tricky, a little bit harder than normal. So it might take a couple tries. It took me a couple tries when I first played the game. So that's the most basic format, and then it's gonna want you to go and complete a full gauntlet. I got a gauntlet started here, but it's free to enter gauntlets, so I can just end it, and then I can show you kind of. I lost once. Let's see. Yeah, so you just have to kind of play it out. But yeah, this is the gauntlet format. I'm gonna explain the gauntlet real quick. There's also, I remember there being like a tooltip. Might be on the outside here, but gauntlet is you're versus the AI, and you get two chances of a loss. Like if you lose, that's okay because you get one more chance here. But if you lose twice, then you're out. You got to get 7-1. 7 wins, 1 loss max. So you can get 7-0 too. Either way, it's the same prizes though. But the prizes aren't super high in the first couple of ones here. But if you get to the last one, you do get pretty decently rewarded. And every time you play through a gauntlet and succeed, it's going to turn this. See how this is for this season? Gray. It'll turn into bronze, then silver, then gold, and then diamond, and finally master. And once you get master, you just, it stays that way until they do a large update. And every once in a while it'll reset your gauntlet, and then it'll reset the next mode I'm about to show you, which is Forge. So once you complete a gauntlet, it'll, I think Forge is locked behind that, but it'll give you a free Forge ticket just for completing Gauntlet. And you can see normally it's 2,500. If you're feeling a little bit uncomfortable with how the cards work and everything, and like basically understanding how it works, then I would play maybe a Gauntlet or two more, and especially if you're enjoying Gauntlet, play Gauntlet, rank it up a little bit, get an idea how a deck works, and then I'll jump into a Forge real quick. You get a lot of the gold you spend back from a forge. So it's going to give you 3 picks here. And the faction you pick, that's you're going to be slotted into a 2-faction pairing. So say for example I picked Frostbite Elemental. I'm going to see Primal cards, and then I'm going to see the other factions. But once I pick a second faction, like let's say I pick Time, which is the yellow cards, then I would be Elysian, which is, and then for the rest of my picks, all 25 picks total, after that would be Primal and Time. Right here I get 3 choices. So let's say I don't want to play a Primal deck very much. Then I can pick Volatile Grenade or Defiance, and then those will, I won't be locked into Primal yet, though they may show up later. You can see I don't have Shadow and Time yet. They might show up in later packs. So out of this, I kind of like Volatile Grenade, but that's a pretty high influence cost. It's 3 influence. I'm just gonna real quick. I know it's kind of like you know what I'm gonna do. Actually, I'm gonna explain the other game modes briefly, and then I'll come back to the Forge and complete the Forge, kind of so like you have a good idea of what's going on, and then like a total layout. I'll explain kind of the anatomy of a card, how that works, and then we'll go back to the Forge. So, and yes, you can leave a forge in the middle of a draft, and you'll be in the middle of your forge deck creation. And come back to that. Just to clarify two things, it's Forge is very similar to Gauntlet, but it costs coins, but you get to keep all the cards you pick. And once you've picked your 25 cards, it throws some sigils in there, and I think it's either seats or banners, one of the two. And then it's basically like a deck that you just play with all of the cards you picked, and then you play through similar to a gauntlet of a bunch of AI decks. Now, when you get to versus battle, this is okay, and then I'll explain puzzles real quick. This is a good way to. Then we'll go to versus. This is a good way. I haven't completed all the puzzles. There's see, like I haven't gotten to there, but I have skipped around a little bit. But this is a good way to get gold if you're wanting to play forges or what I'm about to show you drafts. Um, I recommend not buying individual packs because the draft is really efficient, and Forge, as you're ranking it up, can be pretty efficient too for collection building versus individual packs. Um, so these puzzles, they'll give you, let's see, like for example, I don't know if it tells you the reward. I think it's like bronze gives you like 25 or something. I have to look up specifically, but as you go up, you start getting better and better gold rewards. And they're pretty quick. It's like 2 or 3 turns basically, and it's already a preset up. Let's go into this one for example, um, and I'll play this one out. I might not win, but we'll see. So I'll kind of explain what's going on here so you have an idea of what a puzzle's like. So it says, it gives you a hint. The snow is building up fast. Better win on your turn. So we got to figure out how to beat our opponent while they're at 8 health, and we've got these cards in the setup. This isn't how a normal turn would play out. Normally you'd be able to mulligan and stuff, but it gives you a scenario. So they've just cast Permafrost at the beginning of the round on this, and the puzzle will be the same every single time, just so you know. So we could block, or we could go to 1. So we kind of want to make this bigger and try to win with it. So and we're gonna have maybe 5 power next turn, so no blocks. So we've got 5. Oh no. So I think what we want to do, let's see, that'll put this at 3, 4, 5. Question is how we get the extra health. We don't have an attachment on. Oh yes. Well then it leaves us with. Do we have any? Oh okay. Wait, does that boost this? We're like, oh that's just. See, that's like a lot of thinking right now. We want to make this bigger. Um, we could silence this. Oh, and then it gives this flying. Perfect. So we're gonna play this, silence this. Silence means it loses all abilities, including attachments on it. So permafrost is an attachment. It silences the attached things. Like if I had gilded glaive, it would lose the empower ability because it silences it. So since I played this, a hero of the people's special ability is that when you play stuff with battle skills like flying and it doesn't already have it, it gets plus a permanent +1/+1 stat buff, and it also gains that ability. So they have no blockers. They have a lot up, which normally like they probably have a biting wins, but in the puzzle, since this is the way to win, I guess they're not. Sometimes they will. Sometimes they will have tricks, and you have to learn the puzzle and play it like 3 or 4 times. Luckily, this was just a bronze puzzle, so it wasn't that bad. And then after you complete a puzzle, boom. So spoiler, if you didn't know how to complete that puzzle, it's a little bit of a yeah, so you get 20 gold. So I just did the bronze silence puzzle, and it'll always be like that. Hopefully, like okay, next time. I guess I should have warned you that I was about to complete it, so just in case you wanted to figure it out on your own. But there you go. Okay, so I've explained Gauntlet Forge puzzle campaign. You know, because of the training, that's a sample campaign. It starts you out kind of the basic understanding of what's going on. And then like you can save up gold and buy some of the older campaigns if you're gonna play Throne, or you can buy the newest campaigns. There's campaigns, and then there's mini sets. So a campaign is a mini set attached to a story mode that you can play through, and then a mini set is this similar like a large pool of cards that are just isolated for constructed play, and constructed means you build the deck before and then you go play mode, as opposed to Forge and Draft, which you build it just for that one setup, and then you get to keep the cards. you use your whole collection in a constructed mode. So let's start talking about these. Let's get events out of the way real quick. So there's always new events coming through. League is every single month. There's a new event where you can get special card backs. See, this is the card back that comes with it this time, but you have to save up a lot of gold. So it's kind of like a decision: do I want to draft this month, or do I want to draft it once or twice and save up for it? And then of course you could spend premium currency. And then this is kind of a new thing where you can get all of your packs to be shiny and premium if you want to spend a bigger chunk of gems, but that's a lot of gems. But yeah, you do get a little bit of a discount if you do use gems. But 12,500 may seem like a lot, but you're getting 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 packs. And as the weeks progress, you get to add the packs to your deck, so you're building it as you go through the weeks of the month. And it's a really fun format. I've got some of the past sealed on my channel if you want to check them out, just to see what a little bit more detail of what a league is like. Then we got Expedition, which is currently my favorite format. It's the format I play the most. Pretty fond of Expedition. Basically, Expedition uses two things. It uses the newest set that's out. Well, actually, it's three things. Newest set that's out, the archive of mini sets that are like any number of mini sets and promos that they want to put into that pool that aren't in the draft pack, and then they actually use the draft packs, which are these curated set of cards, usually like several hundred, sometimes like 200 to 300 cards that you can, maybe sometimes more actually, you get a pack of the current set in a draft, and then you get two curated, for example, and then you get a pack of the draft, or sometimes the reverse order. But to clarify, it's just a pool of cards from past sets that blend really nicely with the current draft, with the current set that's just packs, the new set that's out, not including mini sets. No, it's kind of confusing, but it is cards curated for the Expedition format. So it's basically the latest stuff. And then casual is you can use any cards just like in Throne, but it is less rewards. And usually it's like when you want to test out a deck, but you don't want to lose your ranked points for Throne or Expedition. Um, and you just want to test out something wonky because there's a lot less risk, but a lot less rewards. And you still get rewards if you just want to play casual. If you're starting and you're like, I don't want to play Gauntlet because you're not fond of Gauntlet. Some people love Gauntlet. Like there's even speedrunners for Gauntlet. It's a pretty popular format too. But if you actually want to do PvP and kind of see what the PvP environment is, casual, you have a large range of opponents. Like it can be like fresh players, and it can be like really experienced players testing out crazy combos. So it's an interesting format. And then Throne is your competitive format for all of the cards in the game. Every single card can be used in Throne. So, and finally, draft. So we got a draft started. So what's going to happen is you're going to build a deck as like going through just like Forge, but you have 4 packs. And like I was saying just a minute ago with the draft packs, you go in the current set, you're going to get a pack of Argent Depths, then you're going to get a draft pack, which is a specially curated pack with tons of different cards in it. And some of them have like 10 times chance to show up. Not just commons. I'm talking like commons that are boosted and rares that are boosted. Like they're more common. Like there's the Impending Doom's a 4-drop 5/5 in Shadow with flying that pings you for 1 every turn. I think it's 10 times boosted. It might be 5 times boosted, but it's boosted. And so it'll show up more frequently in your rare slot. And then commons can be 10 times boosted. Uncommons can be boosted. And this big set, and it's just a normal size pack. Like it's just like an Argent Depths pack, but it has a lot more variety. It's of past cards. So if you're more recent, it'll seem like a crazy storm of cards and stuff. But since it's a set number and they change it every once in a while to spice it up, you can kind of, after you play a couple drafts, kind of get used to it and understand what's going on with the pack. And also, all those cards are legal in Expedition until they rotate. So it's pretty nice to build a collection. Even if you don't like the actual gameplay of a draft, like the Forge style, but versus players, the collection that you can get, you can rare draft, which means you just take the rares, legendaries, premiums, just to build up your collection, or cards that you need. Like even uncommons, you're like, I need that for a deck. I'll take this. You know, if you're building Ricano, Argent Board, or anything like that, you could take specific cards. So it could be nice. And then once you've got all that done, you'll have a deck built, and it'll load up here. I built Ricano here, and you'll use this deck once. I actually guess I splashed a bit of time in there too for Nihid's Distillation and Penitent Bull. So it's pretty. This deck's pretty awesome. It's interesting. This is actually before the recent update to the draft pack. So I didn't know they were going to update it, and then they updated it, and I'm like, oh, I don't know if this is going to compete with the. At the beginning of a format can be kind of crazy because like they have the packs aren't. Oh yeah, something else I should explain real quick. When you take a when you take a pack, your first pick out of a pack, the next pack you're getting is from is been picked. The card has been picked by another player. So say you take your first pick. Next pack, somebody's taken a card from that, and the pack after that, somebody's taken two cards out of that, and the pack that you're picking then, like somebody else will receive that way down the line in the future. So they're player picked packs. Um, just to give you a brief synopsis of that. So draft is really interesting. Think of it a lot like Forge, but versus multiplayer. That's the easiest way to kind of understand what's going on. It can seem kind of complicated at first, and it's 5,000 gold, so it's a commitment. But trust me, there's no better way to spend your gold except maybe Sealed. Sealed is a bit better for building collection, um, like because it's less dependent on how well you do. Draft is you can build a good collection of cards too, but if you're doing pretty good, like if you're winning, like if your average is 3 or 4 wins, you're getting a good amount for what you're spending because you get all those cards you pick. Okay, so that's the different formats. Um, what else? Okay, so there's all these little things up here. So let's go through these. This is friends list. It's kind of like how you communicate with other players in the game. If you join a team, like if you become competitive and join a team, you're going to have all of them on your friends list. Sometimes you'll fight people or verse people on the ladder, and you'll be like, "Oh my gosh, I watched their channel. Let me friend them." Then you send them a friend request, and then you can talk to them. Uh, Discord's also pretty poppin' as far as that goes. Like you could talk to people and kind of get a better understanding of the game. If somebody uses a deck and you're like, "Wow, I really want to know what that list is like, or how they built that, or ask them a question about a certain card," you could try to friend them and see what they say. Um, just make sure you're polite to other people so you don't get reported. And then here's the profile. So profile is kind of like how you customize your experience and check on your progress. So there is this is the current set here, Argent Depths, and it tells you how much you've collected of it, and you can go back to past sets to kind of check out how much of a collection you have built up. As you can see, I definitely don't have a full premium set of Argent Depths. Still building my Argent Depths collection. And then you can go to your match history to see like how well you've done, like in your past games, or who you versed, or what factions you've been versing, um, and like a couple little details. Let me see what this even does. This tells you what deck you used, basically. And then this is kind of like, okay, so there's another reward system other than, I guess I'll have to explain the reward systems for the other types, but here's one of the ways you get rewarded for playing. If you play a deck that has a prevalent amount of fire in it, then you get experience. And then as that builds, you can get gold, and you get packs, you get shiftstone. Sometimes you even get like, so when you build a deck, you get a little like character that you could put on the front. So when you're looking through your decks, you'll see it, and you'll be like, "Oh yeah, cool, this." What's a good example? Like Akaria, for example, that can be on the front of a deck, or Jack. You know, all these different characters that you can relate with. They can be on the front of your deck. So when you're playing, you'll get them specifically for Fire, Time Justice, Primal Shadow, and then later on you can get like premium versions of cards and stuff like that, commons, uncommons, rares, all that sort of thing. So it can be nice. It's a good reward system, and that's faction progress. Achievements is another way you can go and try to target different achievements and try to, like, do different things. Like if you transform 100 units into frogs, you get 75 gold and 50 points. The points just are kind of a way to keep up with how well, or not how well, but how much you've progressed in their achievements. It can be fun to see like what your score is. Um, then here's personalize. So say if you're playing a certain deck and you're like, well, I want to personalize a little bit. I want to like get into the zone. Like if you're playing unseen, you might want to have an unseen. You can change your emotes. You could have them all greet emotes. You can have them all like all kinds of variety. Um, here, there's also totems. You'll pick one of the 5 factions. Time, fire. I know I didn't pick fire. I'm not a big fan of Infernus personally, though a lot of people do like Infernus. I just like I think the time one's a little bit cooler, my personal opinion. Uh, you could pick your card backs. You'll unlock card backs from sealed, and sometimes there'll be like different ways to get card backs. And then you get to pick if you have special playmats. They just Playmats aren't super new. Like they've had some playmats in the past, but there haven't been too many of them so far. And they're another way to customize your experience. Okay, so what else is there? This is telling you how good. You can see I haven't started this season at all. Been a little bit doing other stuff in game, but doing a little bit of solo battle. um, anyways, so let's talk about so that's profile and personalization. So cards, these are decks that you've basically build in the game. All of them get listed here. You can delete them if you don't use that deck anymore. If they got a X on them because you're missing some cards or that they're no longer valid for that format. You can share decks easily with this button. If you have a deck, like see how it has the parenthesis 2, parenthesis 3, you want to edit a deck, but you want to also keep a copy just in case you don't finish editing and you still want it playable, or if you might change your mind later and want to see what the original was like, what cards changed, you can keep an original copy by cloning it and then editing it. You can click a deck to go into it. These are your collection. You can click crafting to see cards you actually don't have. You can go expedition to have only expedition legal cards, all the different factions, and then multi-faction and neutral. And then here's more filters if you want it to be a little bit more specific. Your power costs. Here's factions again. Unowned and owned is kind of separated by the crafting button to some extent. Then you could have, do you want only shinies? Do you want just not shiny premium cards? All the different types of card, rarity, sets. Here's another version of the expedition button right here. Okay, there's also a use premium button. Also, real quick, when you go to settings and you kind of have played a couple games and you figured out, where is it? I think it's under gameplay. Yes, you want to check the advanced deck building because if you don't have that checked, then it won't let you pick the amount of power that you have in the deck. Which you always, there's specific rules for power. 1/3 of your deck always has to be power, which means 25 power plus in a normal 75 card deck. Also, why do I have 83 cards in this deck? Oh, because I haven't finished building this yet. But normally I'll have exactly 75 because it'll be more consistent. But I'm still deciding what cuts to make in this because they had to update to the draft packs. So that's that. Also, markets. Markets are certain cards can pull cards from markets, but specifically here I'm using the market for cards that I'm considering or have considered. So that's kind of the basic rundown here, and then there's a breakdown of the factions. Okay, so let's see. Anything else in here? You can go to your collection and do the similar stuff. Then there's the store. Tells you kind of like what offers are going on. Bastion Rising is the newest mini set. Different pack bundles, etc. Oh yes, and then there's also influence. Okay, so then let's go into gold is how you buy drafts, forges, and you can buy individual booster packs of any set, though it's not as good of a deal as you're going to get from draft. Then gems is just the same thing as gold, but a premium currency. Some stuff is you have to use gems, or not. I don't think it's half, like the premium versions of certain things. I think you have to use gems, and sometimes you get a discount. And then shards is how you craft specific cards. And then this right here, this shift stone, this will have all like extra copies of your cards, and it'll just let you destroy your extras instantly. And then you can see here, this is how much you currently have. And then here's packs. So when you obtain a pack, like, because I think it's the first win every day, you get a pack of the newest set. And then you'll just gradually, when you get open up gold and diamond chests, you get booster packs from those. So you'll just build up booster packs as you go along. Okay, so I think that's pretty much everything except for, oh yes, let me talk about individual cards, like what's going on with that real quick, just to give you an idea. I don't know why I'm keep going into this deck that's not even fully built yet, but it'll be fine. Let's talk about a unit first. Let's talk about Grenadin Drone. Okay, so Grenadin Drone is now an expedition, just so you know, and it's a 1-cost 1/1 unit. So units stay on the battlefield, and this one specifically plays an extra unit. That's its special ability. So there we go. So here's the cost. That's how much power you have to have. So you play sigils to get power. And it raises your maximum power and gives you that power for that turn. This is its attack, the orange number, and then the red is its health. This is just to show you that it's premium because it's shiny. This is its name, as you can see. Oh yes, right here is influence. So this costs fire. That little hammer means fire. Fire is like the faction of early plays, quick plays, direct interaction, speed to some extent. You know, it's the faction of creation and destruction, as well. So that's kind of what Grenadins are about, specifically. So this is a Grenadin. See this gray symbol? Sometimes if this is missing, that means it's like just a created unit. So that means it has no rarity, but this gray one means it's common. There's also green for uncommon, blue for rare, purple for promo, and then orangish gold / yellow for legendary. So yeah, that's kind of the anatomy of the card. And then you'll learn that through the tutorial too. There's other card types. There's Seer, which is a fast spell, which means you can use it at any time in the certain reaction times. Flash Fire is a normal spell, so you can only use it during your turn. Thunder of Wings is a spell that makes a unit. What else is there? There's relics too. I don't think oh yes, I am. Well, they're not relics, but they're specifically weapons. I'll show you a relic in a second. So weapons also have attack and health, but it is what it gives to the unit it's played on. And then see that ability is given to the unit. So when the unit dies, you'll draw Steel Fang Chakra from your deck. And then this gives the unit that it gets attached to decay. And when you summon Corrosive Dagger specifically, it does, like when you play it, you get the ability. You have to have a unit to play it though. Like you have to have a unit to play it on. So let's go find a relic real quick. So you can use this search bar for all kinds of stuff. Just look up all kinds of stuff. You could also break it down to where it's just relic. So this is relic weapons. It's like a weapon, but it attaches to your avatar. So it's kind of an interesting way of doing things. When you take damage, if it goes all the way past armor, like if you're attacking a unit and it's like a 5/5, and your Charge Chain Flail, you're attacking with them to kill it when it's up to 5, you'll hit them, destroy their creature, but then you'll take 4 direct damage because you're actually going up and fighting that creature specifically as your avatar. And this is a little bit smaller version of Charge Chain Flail. Alright, so let's find our true relic. A simple relic. Here we go. This is a good one. So 3 cost, double fire influence. It means you have had to have played 2 fire sigils or other power that gives you fire influence. It's a relic, uncommon. When you play a sentinel, the sentinel gets +2 attack. And then when you summon ancient defenses, you get to deal 3 damage to an enemy. So it's kind of like Seer to some extent. So yeah, that's the basic gist of the card types. All right, so think of just real quick, I'm gonna open up one pack just to kind of show you what happens when you open a pack. Let's do an empty throne pack. So as you can see, it opened up all these. Sometimes the cards will be shiny. Torch is a really cool card. And then you get to flip your rare. In this case, it was crystallized. That's a great starting card. It's basically like a soft board clear, so it's a good card. I'm not going to go into depth on any cards. All of my other videos, I usually go into specifics about cards and stuff. So look out for that. And I'm actually about to go through a bunch of cards with Forge. So now we're going to get back to Forge, and then just to give you an idea of what else is going to happen in this video, I'm going to run through this draft, or not this draft. I'm going to run through the rest of this Forge, and then I'll play a game, and then I'll be like, okay, I'll finish this Forge later, and have a great day. So just to give you an idea what's going on next. So I'm going to evaluate all these cards, talk you through it, kind of what mindset you're going to want to have when going through a Forge, what you're trying to look for. You want it to be as okay, so I'm starting now. You want it to be as easy as possible to play your cards. So you're going to want to have cards on. Okay, so on turn 1, it's not a super big deal, especially since you're playing 2 factions. You might not always get the influence you need, so you might want to go 2, 3, 4, 5. Those are your most, well, 2, 3, and 4 are your most important ones. You can have some 5 drops, you can have some 6 drops, you can even have some 1 drops. That's your curve. You'll see it right here. It'll show you as you're building cards, and you can press this for more details about your factions. So you want to kind of try to keep your factions even, but specifically Argent Depth, sometimes you want one dominant faction if you have these heavy influence cards. I think Defiance is pretty good because it's like some light removal, but it's very reactive removal, and it puts us in Justice, which is actually really good in draft. So we're going to take a Defiance. Town Watchman, we don't want to be taking 6 drops early if we can help it. Plus that Lightning Strike, it's very similar to Defiance, so the role is already filled. Also, I know I just said I wouldn't take 1 drops that often, but if it's a removal, it's not the same because you're not always going to play this on 1. You're very rarely. I mean, you're not going to play it on 1. You're going to play it on your opponent's turn, and that's only if they have a charge unit, which you're not even going to waste it on a 1/1 charge unit. You're going to use this later, and it just lets you play it when you have 1 influence or 1 power left in your turn. Okay, so Lightning Strike's very similar, but it'll deal with units like pretty much permanently, and it deals with a similar style of unit, but it definitely is better against aggressive decks or in conjunction with blockers. It's very similar to Defiance, so it's kind of not the best pick here, but it's better than the other 2 picks, I would say. Okay, so Levitate's okay. It's just kind of a filler card. Promising Pupil's okay. Is alright. Nothing too crazy in this yet. Shatter I'm not going to take because it's really specific. It kills a stunned enemy unit. I don't have anything that stuns except for Defiance, and that doesn't even always stun. And I don't see myself getting, even though we are in Huru, which is Justice Primal, I don't know how much stun we're going to want to pick up. Levitate is pretty good because you're always like drawing cards even if it does cost you power, and the flying can help block a flyer if your opponent attacks in, or get through for your final bit of damage. That's pretty darn good. 4 cost is solid, but it's a 2/2. Exalted does help, and if you can get that random battle skill, and it's like a decent one, so basically not reckless, and like it's also situationally dependent. It can be really nice. But it's not. We need units, especially when we only have 25 non-power cards to play. So far we're pretty spell heavy. I think I'm gonna just go ahead and take the Promising People. I don't want Storm Prowler very much. I would rather not take Miner's Canary because it's very defensive. Here's another 4 cost 2/2. This one's got Revenge. And summon, you can give another unit +2/+2. So it plays a very different role than Promising Pupil Rabble Rouser does. Um, I think it's very much a worse pick, but I still think out of this pack, it might be the pick. Miner's Canary is good if we could pick up, like, I would say 2 or 3 weapons, and actually, ironically, is pretty decent with Rabble Rouser because you can push for a little bit of damage. I just think our deck is way too defensive already, especially with Promising People wanting us to be able to get through for damage to take a Miner's Canary. Rabble Rouser actually synergizes with Promising Pupil a little bit, so I think we'll go ahead and take it. Okay, now this is a better pack. Valley Clan Sage is a great utility unit. It's also defensive. You get to pay 4 to draw the top card of your deck if it's a spell, otherwise discard it. I forgot it's spells only, but we do have 2 spells already, so that's a thing. Other than that, Rebuke is another semi-decent removal spell. And Solemn Clergy plays a similar role to Rebuke, except it's attached to a unit that lets us plunder. And I think that plunder is better than that stun. Even though that you have to let this die to get a silence off. I think it's worth it. Polymorph gets rid of really troublesome units. Like if our opponent plays a rare or a legendary card, and it's just like there's no like Surso for example, he's an Elysian legendary card, and man, he is very difficult to deal with because he transforms your units into pigs. If you could transform him and make him a 1/1 before he can do all that business and keep swinging in for big amounts, then it's great. Other than that, though, it can turn like a 3/3 into a 1/1, which doesn't feel like a lot for 3. That's usually what it's going to end up doing. Emerald Crafter has a great surge ability. So every time you play, or every time you gain an influence, which basically is the same thing as saying when you play a power because you're gaining an influence there, sometimes you'll get 2. Emerald Crafter gets their Entomb ability buffed. What their Entomb ability does is it starts out as saying play a 1/1 Emerald Incarnation, but if you keep playing influence cards, it'll get a 2/2 Emerald Incarnation upon death, then a 3/3, and so on and so forth until you've got a really big unit and your opponent just doesn't want to block your Emerald Crafter. This is a really solid card if we didn't already have 2 4-drop units. Primal Incarnation is a bit better in a situation where you're mono primal, but it could be like a 5-cost 3/3 flyer, I would say. We really don't want it to be a 2/3. We would love for it to be a 4/3. So on average, it's okay. I would say in this scenario, I kind of just want the Emerald Crafter because this is a 5-cost. It's not much better than a 4-cost in this scenario. We'll just have a bunch of 4-costs, but we need to fix our curve. Shifting Illusion is pretty decent because it plunders, fixes our hands, makes us be able to get to our 4-drops. If we're flooded with cards we can't use, then it can be nice. Solemn Clergy does the same exact thing with a little bit of silence, but I don't want 2 Solemn Clergies. It's just not good enough. And then Frost is kind of like a worse version of Defiance, I would say, because it always stuns, even though it's got that revenge ability. So I'm taking the Shifting Illusion. It's very, very like light of a card, but with it being able to push for a little bit of damage can be nice. Now, Nightwatch Broadsword is kind of like Lightning Strike and it does 4 damage to a unit, but it also can hit the opponent for 4 damage if you can get rid of their other units. It can also like in a very very emergency situation can be like a 3 life gain spell. Like if you just play it and then in your turn, you can get rid of problem units before they get to attack. So that's better than Lightning Strike, but it's definitely more expensive on the power cost there. I don't think Noble Protector's really that good unless you're playing a lot of weapons, and even then, it's just a mediocre unit. Double Helix Drake is in a similar boat. It really looks cool. Not saying that Noble Protector doesn't have great art. It has excellent art too. But a 5-cost 1/4 flyer is very defensive, and though we do have Lightning Strike, which is a spell that will benefit from the spell damage bonus, that's really it. If we were in Skycrack, it'd be more likely. I think I just want to take the Broadsword, honestly. Have a nice 5-cost, decent removal spell. Mantle of Justice, see how much justice we have? That makes Mantle of Justice pretty darn good. If this is a +3/+3, that's okay. If we can get it to +4/+4, that's pretty darn good. We just wish we had a little bit more in the flying department. Trickshot Ruffian has been nerfed recently, so it's not quite as powerful as you'd think. It doesn't help you sustain, but I mean, it's a 1-drop that you're not going to ever really play on 1. Minotaur Duelist is okay. Let me just go over this again a little bit. So it's according to your Justice influence, so it's similar to Mantle of Justice in that regard. Okay, that's all I had to say about that. Minotaur Duelist, 5 cost 3/2 with Revenge. So if it dies, it can come back. And it's got that summon stun an enemy unit. So it can kind of slow down your opponent. But this deck is already kind of a, not, I don't want to say clunky, but it is kind of clunky. Deck with a lot of slowdown effects. It's definitely Huru. It feels like Huru. So it's the most Huru deck I've ever seen, it feels like. So this is kind of a hard choice. I'm saying I gotta pick some of the lower drops, but man, it's not really putting me up because all of these are better at fourth turn to fifth turn on a good curve. And Trickshot Ruffin I think is the weakest of the pick. It has the best floor because you could play it no matter what. But in a way, it also has kind of a worse floor too. This is the worst floor because it starts out as a 0/0 weapon that you can't play, possibly like a 1/1. Anyways, it could be really bad. We're just gonna take the Minotaur Duelist. I know we're taking all our high drops. Hopefully, we'll get some good low drops here as we go. Another Mantle of Justice. I don't know if I can like actually afford to not take it, but man, Fur Hat's okay. I've had some luck with Fur Hat. I mean, it's a little bit of a buff. It could be decent on Shifting Illusion, or even just to be able to start pushing through this with a mid-sized unit, and then getting that Justice Sigil from your deck to kind of thin you out. That can be nice. Bubble Shield's pretty good. It can be good against removal. I just don't think it's powerful enough. I'm skeptical about taking Mantle of Justice, but man, in this deck, I don't know. It's very Justice centric. So that or for I think I'll take a Mantle. Reflection's pretty bad. Warren Shield's notoriously pretty not great. And I'll take the Levitate here. We got Yeti Taunt Patrol. 3 cost 2/1, and every time you gain an influence, the enemy player deals 1 damage to themselves. And then you get to plunder on summons. So that's actually pretty decent for getting some direct damage in, but it's got that double primal, and we're trying to go heavier in the Justice. Storm of Feathers is okay. You know, get that double stun is nice. But honestly, I think it's not quite going to do as much for us as the Yeti Taunt Patrol. So we're going to take it. Hopefully not go too deep into the Primal. And hopefully be able to play this on time. So we can double a unit's attack and health with Unbreakable Tradition. And we also get that extra influence gain for cards like Yeti Taunt Patrol. But we got to gain Primal with it. We're going to gain the Primal with it, which is nice. So that can be a good fixer, actually. Not super fun of Isolate with our current, like, we already got 2 decent removal pieces, but removal tends to be pretty darn good. You're going to want a good bit of removal. This is a good trick, though. It's just, oh, you know what? Seeing as our curve needs a little bit more low drops, I actually am starting to be a little bit higher up on the Isolate. But this could be really bad if you're, like, really behind. I'll take the Unbreakable Tradition and try to prevent taking anything that's 5 costs from here on out. We want to get those 2 drops, 3 drops now. They're making it pretty difficult for us, but man, Valiant Leap. Okay, this card is pretty extraordinary in Huru. Gives a unit flying overwhelm and +2/+2 at fast speed. But you need all this influence. Double Primal, double Justice. And it also has Revenge that comes back. That is like a great card. Shifting Illusion's okay. Enchanted Plate Mill's another 5-drop though. So we're just going to take the Valiant Leap because that's a really excellent card. Siphoner Paladin's another good reason to be in Justice. Shield Bash is pretty decent. Rebel Rouser we've talked about. So there is good old. We're going to take the Siphoner Paladin. Now, I said we were going to try to avoid 5 drops, but man, Longtail Cavalry is pretty decent. It gives its flying to another unit when it dies, basically. It's kind of like an Untomb effect, that Exalted. Plus, it gives the a 2/1 weapon, 2/1 flying weapon. Rebuke is decent. Like, it can actually help us out. I think we have enough spells, though. We need units. And we're going to have a lot of 5-drops, but that's how it happens sometimes. I'll take this just to have a 3-drop, you know? I don't really like Death from Above. I do like Not Watch Broadsword, but at this point it's just, like, worse to take it. Geralt's Frostkin's a decent 4-drop. Really decent 4-drop. It's a lot better than Silverwing. Even though it's a 2-drop, I don't think we can take it. It does hold the Mantle of Justice pretty well. I think we're going to take the Frostkin. Another Minotaur Duelist. It's pretty okay. We don't want to take the Frostbite Elemental, though, because we don't have a lot of stun. I think I'll take the Crown Patrol here because it can trade up. It's a 2-1, and that Plunder is going to help us with all these 4 and 5 drops. Okay, Spellbound Urshine's a really decent Primal unit. It's one of the reasons to be in Primal. And it can be really nice. But it's another 5-drop. We have a lot of 5-drop action going on here. Let's go with Beseech the Throne, because it draws us cards, you know, lets us plunder. It's slow, but it could be decent in this kind of scenario. Okay, so Detain's okay. I really don't want to take a Detain. I'd rather take Nightwatch Broadsword. Cheerful Shepherd's fine. I would rather take the Stalwart Silverwing in this scenario, because it is a flyer. Alright, so Willbreaker's okay because of the double damage. We don't have a lot. We have a couple buffs. And it's really good against flying units, which we don't have a lot against. So I think it's the best out of these 3. We'll take out of this. Do we want another net? We don't want 3. We'll take a Detain because it's a fine trick. And then, once again, we're presented with a choice of another rare. Jadehorn. This card is awesome. It is built. Like, you look at this card and you're just like, what is going on? 3 cost, 3/3 for double justice influence. It's a Minotaur unit. It's got pledge, which means it can be a power on the first turn of the game. You can only pledge once, though. You could like turn it into a power, which means all the rest of the card doesn't matter. It's just the justice sigil. But if you do keep it as a unit and play it on 3, it's got Warcry. So every time it attacks, you're getting that +1 for the top unit or weapon of your deck. And then on summon, you get 3 armor, and you can attack an additional time this turn. So if you have a weapon equipped, then you get to attack twice that turn if your weapon survives, which the armor should help to do that. Then you get that effect again if you pay 6 after Jadehorn dies with its shade ability. You can see the little shade right here on the side here. See that Jadehorn shade? Alright, so we're gonna Inspiring Leadership is pretty good. When you play a unit, you may set another one of your units to the save, attack, and health. I think it's kind of more build-aroundy. And then Vengeful Flight that's triple primal. And it's good with units that don't have flying, but it's another 5-drop. So we're going to take the great 3-drop here. So, nice thing about Forge is we're ready. Boom. You know? You don't have to build your deck or anything like in Draft. It's a lot simpler. Better for beginners, in my opinion. Just it throws it together, pits you against the AI, and we're going up against Alicia. So yeah, we got a decent hand. We can plunder away the Longtail Cavalry or the Rabble Rouser to kind of suit our curve. Then we got Beseech the Throne to do some more plundering. Yeah, this is a great starter. Great starting hand. So let's start with that Primal. Shifting Illusion. I'd rather get rid of the Rabble Rouser. I just think it's good. Good enough for this hand. Okay, so now we got 2 Justice. We're going to try to get that Beseech the Throne out, draw some cards, maybe plunder some more. Oh man, we got a lot of plunder in this deck. That's kind of nice. So we'll swing in, you know, get some damage started because we're going to need some damage. We're going to deal some damage on this deck. So let's see what we drew. We can get to 4, and I do want this. We'll see what we draw to see if we want to turn anything else because I do want that double primal just to be able to play all our cards. Justice is, we just want as much justice as possible. We also don't want to get flooded with power. So they're picking us back with their 1/2 stranger. So let's go with justice just so we, like, you know, can build that as much as possible. We can drop a primal whenever we draw our Yeti later. Honestly, we want to get to 5, but we don't need to. We can draw a card right here. There we go. Okay, so that's fixed us. And that was a good choice. That worked out. You can plunder back and forth a little bit as you decide, as you get more information, as you draw. Like, it can happen. I accidentally clicked that Justice Sigil as it came out, but it doesn't really matter. Actually, it's better because then I can play Emerald Crafter and get that an accidental good move right there. Because you want as much Surge, because if you gain 2 influence, like with Seed of Order, I guess we'll kill the 2-1. It's fine. So if we'll double Surge with the Seed of Order because it has 2 influence types. You get a Justice influence and a Primal influence. That's 2 Surges. If we can get this to survive. So then we'll put a 3/3 out on a tomb, which is great. It was an accident, but a happy accident. Let's swing in. We're gonna play that Longtail Cavalry next. And we could block and make a 5/4 flyer that when it dies it puts out a big ol' Emerald Incarnation. That Oasis Sanctuary, do not run this. Do not run this card. I mean, I can tell you that there is strictly better cards, and it is just really bad to pay 3 to gain 5. Even in a life gain deck, it's not good enough. So, honestly, I want more attackers. But I also want the flying on this. Yeah, it's a hard choice, I guess. Yeah, it's a hard decision. So that gives that a little buff. We'll swing out. We got detain as a reaction just in case they have an ambush unit. And then we'll go ahead. We don't have a weapon, but we don't want to wait for a weapon to do our additional attack ability. The Shade can do that if it happens. We have a lot of Entomb style effects in this deck with the Exalted and the Corrupted. So let's get a little bit more. We'll just go ahead and swing out. We got that detain ready as always, just in case. You know, this isn't a bad card. It just doesn't give you a way to interact really easily. It has to be under this scenario where you're being blocked by a big unit with low health. You know, that's when it's best. Like, if they're going to trade, you can make it not a trade. Okay, so then we'll swing in. This is a fast spell, right? Yeah, we'll swing in. And after they decided what they're going to stun, I mean, that's good. I guess we'll do it now. Oh, they haven't decided blockers yet. So after they decide blocks, yeah, we'll have to do it on this, huh? Okay, that's fine. It's a primal, so that'll boost that, man. So if this ever happens to die, it's gonna put out an 8/8. So that's pretty great. And so this deck, ooh, man, I kind of wish we had waited. So summons Plunder. I'm going to go ahead and turn this in, give it a damage in, and swing out. There we go. That should be game, and it is. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, guys and girls. I hope you enjoyed this video. Just go ahead and click that like button and subscribe if you want more content like this. Overall, just to kind of give you a synopsis of what's going on, or what happened. This video was pretty much for beginners. Like, if you've never played, I'm going through every single of the most basic things of this game just to give you an understanding of how it works. Try to hit every single note, like questions that I would have, basic FAQ, things I would want to know before I played or after I played the first thing of a tutorial. I'm looking up, what do I do? Also, of note, get through the tutorial because this game gets really good as you get into it. There's tons of content creators out there. If you want to learn more about draft, check out the Eternal Journey. They got YouTube videos, podcasts. Check out Farming Eternal. They're putting out content about drafting all the time. If you want more news updates, or if you want kind of what's going on that's new, the Misplay podcast is really great for kind of the tournament scene once you get a little bit more advanced. Loco Pojo does a lot of news updates. But there is a ton of content creators out there that I haven't mentioned that are fantastic. Those are just the four that I watch all the time, watch and listen to, because they several. I think three out of four of those have podcasts. So I hope you enjoyed the content today. Uh, have a great one. Take it easy.